and then I can, I have it for posterity. So Joe Glover, my partner, he brings a rare combination of experience, military service, business strategy, Wall Street perspective, entrepreneurship, technology, and a lifetime of studying how free enterprise actually works. He spent decades thinking about how business creates value, how capital moves, how wealth is built, and why the free enterprise system matters. So he has been a tremendous partner to me in the few with this not only building, helping me build more structure, substance, and a clear commitment to serving veterans as well. So Joe, take it away.
I'll warn you, Tina's fully authorized to ring the bell and shut me up. But we get into these discussions. But I am excited that this group is going again. It's really how I came to watch and observe Tina and see the people they put together. And there's somewhere between 25 to 30 other people that have been involved with us in our journey that will be involved with Free Enterprise Warriors or some of these groups that aren't available right now. But um, I really, when Tina asked me to talk about this, it's really uh, great when you get to talk to people because as veterans and people helping veterans, it's a complex market out there. How do you help veterans? What do you say to them? How do they go? And from my own experience, I come from a small town and enlisted in the Marine Corps. My only goal in life was to be an officer of Marines and was able to achieve that goal. But Vietnam ended, and I was going to be a career officer, but it turned out that I got one of those offers you couldn't refuse and got into the business world. And what really stunned me very quickly, being a kid that thought people on Wall Street and people that wore suits were very organized and very professional and very mission oriented. And then in the military, when I'd gone through school studying battles, studying leadership, studying mission statements and the structure in the organization, I was really surprised to find that business was very chaotic, that very few people knew who they were trying to serve and what they were trying to do and what their resources were.
Like the
And
thing.
and
Real.
it was just this jumble. So I began the process of what I'd been trained in the military to do to really learn the principles and the basic. And we had what we call the five paragraph order. All the veterans have heard about that and over time developed what we now call the few framework, but I took the five paragraphs and I made them seven. I added, of course, the finance and the sales part, the marketing part, which you didn't need in the military. And over the years, I met people like Mitch Fillet. Mitch was what I considered one of the masters of the universe. He was with one of the larger investment banking firms in New York. And again, as a young kid, coming from a town where the richest guy owned the dealership, the Chevrolet dealership, uh, I was really mesmerized by the idea of beginning to learn how this wealth that my blue collar folks knew about, and they talked about the Rockefellers, and they'd say, "Who do you think I am, a Rockefeller?" Well, I was curious and wanted to know more about how that wealth was created. And ironically, over the time I was in, I raised over $150 million in debt and equity, and I met people like Mitch and some other really significant players. And now I can say that I know and I could call or I've been involved with nine people who are on the Fortune 500 list as the wealthiest people in the world. And I'm fascinated that a kid whose father's a grease monkey could come over that period of time to be exposed to a system that does this miraculous thing. And I literally began wanting to know more about how that worked, how to address the chaos. And understanding the casualty rate was 80% for startups, and hearing over and over again, it was just accepted that most of you that pick up a business rifle and get into the game were going to not make it to the objective. I said, in the military, 10% is unacceptable. How do you accept that environment? Well, that began that process of us codifying and putting together and learning what we now have as resources in the Free Enterprise Warrior community. But that challenge continued to evaluate what's the motivation and how do we do it. And I remembered after I had gotten out of the Marine Corps, when I was working for a well-known executive, and as I got out, I was going to be in the reserves, and I was offered a recon company out of San Antonio to be a reserve CO for that. In that process, I met a really hard-charging, sharp lieutenant colonel, and we established a relationship. Well, lo and behold, about 6 months after I was in my job, because he was retiring, and he hadn't told me that when we were there, the protocol, and he came in a brand new suit, looking very awkward, says, "Joe, can I talk to you about a job?" And I can't share with you the emotions that I realize he's in the transition that I've now seen hundreds, thousands of times. And all he was thinking about was, with all this experience and all this capability and his silver star and all of these awards, he just was thinking about a job. Well, that's haunted me in a sense over the years. And as we worked and focused, I said, how how do we get these guys and these gals now that are participating in defending the free enterprise system more involved? Well, ironically, in that process, as is my want, and I started studying and realized this system that was so chaotic is only 250 years old. It's the great irony of history that when Adam Smith wrote the book Wealth of Nations, and he's considered the real first serious economist, and he identified the concept of the invisible hand and self-interest and why the butcher, baker, and brewer create value in a community. Well, it was a unique combination of U.S.'s culture, its demographics, its focus, its mission, its ethics, its values, and then having a military that could defend it and leave the civilians free to develop that created this unique mix over the last 250 years that now coming together makes the American free enterprise system what it is. But you have to ask, what is the American free enterprise system? Well, basically, it is a system that lets individuals pursue their passion, take their talents and their abilities, get out there, take risk, attract capital where it's needed, incur debt, sometimes succeed, sometimes fail, then get back up again. And the system is forgiving in that they can go at it again and create wealth, opportunity, and innovation in a way it's never occurred. And we literally started I hired professors at MIT. I'm sorry, at Texas A&M and University of Texas, and a couple of research firms up north. And we started looking at what is the secret? How does this happen? And it bottom line comes down to profits. Profits are the secret, but how they're deployed and how they're utilized in the American free enterprise system. Now Mitch is the academic. He could explain this a lot better to me, but from a layman's point of view, the process is that if you get out and create a product or service that you can sell at a price that a willing consumer will purchase, that allows you to make a profit, which gives you the capital to reinvest in that business, you're going to be successful. And if you miss any one of those elements, you're going to have to figure out why you're not being. But the impact of this, as of 1776, and I'm not promoting it, but we ended up writing a book, The Tsunami Effect. We talk about the average American as of 1776. Our country was bankrupt, and won't go into all the details because we don't have the time here, but we explain what his life was in 1776 and compare that to what it is now at the 250th anniversary in 2026, and it's mind-boggling. Mind-boggling what has happened for the world. If you look at the gross domestic product in all of history for those thousands of years where there was business per se, but it was an age of allocation. You could only get wealth if you took it from somebody else, and that's why all the conflicts and all the aggression occurred. But if you look at the charts that we have in the book from 1776 to today, it's just a chart that goes off the wall based on the wealth and opportunity created largely found. The Industrial Revolution started in England, But it was our unique combination of those factors I mentioned that allowed us to be able to create this just historic and inconceivable growth and wealth. But it all comes down to the individual small companies, what we call the Elm Street, the bakers and brewers and butchers of the Adam Smith era, that gave that momentum, and then that became the Main Street mentality, the general stores that grew into the Sears and the Montgomery Wards and the Ford Motor Companies and the larger companies, and the process of creating wealth that produced the capital to let those companies grow as rapidly as their skills and abilities and markets would allow them. I think it's really intriguing this last week that Elon Musk just went public, and I'd like to illustrate is how little we really understand. And Mitch and I have talked about this, and he can even comment on this in the group after we get out. But it's really surprising how few people in the business world understand their mission and understand this amazing gift we have. They understand that a little part of it. They're good at marketing, they're good at human resources, they're good at product development. But when you look at the amazing power of this system, when Musk went public, he created trillions of dollars of wealth. He got part of that, but we've got an infographic. If you're interested in it, Tina will make it available that shows how this impacted this one company going public, how it created 4,000 millionaires and created trillions of dollars of wealth overall that will impact probably many of you, your own 401k, where your mutual fund benefited from that process. But I like to make one key point, and this is what came down, all that research and all that effort, is that today, based on the latest rough numbers, the reported earnings of all the public companies in the United States is roughly 3.5 to $4 trillion. In other words, from selling cars and shipping equipment and doing services, they report to their shareholders, well, we made $4 trillion this year. Some of that will go in dividends, some of that will be repeated back. But here's the America's secret weapon. The valuation of those companies that created $4 trillion in earnings, cash money coming out, are valued at over $75 trillion. Now, that is a delta of over $70 trillion that's future money that our process has bought back into the market today. The share price of those companies, even though they only made 4 trillion, is saying that we believe these companies will generate $75 trillion worth of value in the future. But the key is now those shares sitting in your 401k, sitting in these new millionaire, they're what you use to pay for your college education, your retirement, to buy a home. But our magic system has brought 70 more wealth than ever existed in the history of the world has been created by this mechanism to put in place today in our system, thanks to the free enterprise system that we operate under and the companies that are built. And we get distracted by talking about taxes and all these other things, but the reality is, and I've only got a couple of minutes, I have to get away from that. We could talk forever about the power of that, but that's what excites us. So we've created for Enterprise Warrior. We've spent a decade and much money, both hard and soft money, to get to this point. We're inviting 1,776 veterans to be a part of this first cohort. We're going to cut it off after that so we can figure it out and how to do it. 300 of those are going to be what we call Spartans. They're going to be the experienced business people that are veterans that bring something to the table to help the other veterans. And our goal is to make this the most effective training vehicle for veterans that's ever been available. We charge for membership a minimal amount because we're preaching profit. A lot of veterans expect things to be free, but those of you that are already succeeded in your business knowing that the free's never free, and you have to have something in the pie to figure out what to do. So that's what we're doing. That's where we are. I'm excited that Tina will be running this parallel to that, and we invite you to learn more about the Free Enterprise Warriors, and we're excited. We're launching to catch a point July 4th. This is the year of the publication. This is the 250th anniversary of the Wealth of Nations, 250th anniversary of the Marine Corps, and a few of the other services. And we want to celebrate that.
Hey, Joe, can you mention quickly our Pathfinder mission readiness profile?
Well, I was going to leave that to you, Tina, and what's really intriguing, and Tina has been very, you know, as guys, we have a certain mentality, and it was in the service, everybody has an MOS, and we know that less than 6% of the military is on the tip of the sword. But it's really that 94% that makes everything possible. Well, it's the same way in the business world, and it's not all about Wall Street. It's not all about the Elon Musk. It's not all about the people that get in the magazine. But so we've defined the marketplace as having three fundamental elements: the Elm Street, the Main Street, and the Wall Street. And the business principles in each of those areas are the same, but they're applied differently. So we've developed our materials and our approach to fit your expectations and your needs as an entrepreneur, depending on which street you're in. And we've developed some assessments. We don't use the word assessments because they're far different from that, but it's a process of helping you define. And Tina's got some graphics she can show for you, but it's to help you define if you're coming into the free enterprise marketplace, either as a guy that's retiring or a gal that's just getting ready to get out, or you're still in and trying to decide. The Pathfinder's designed to help you. And what Tina's brought to the dimension, and she's got a book coming out soon that I've been had the privilege of helping edit. FTI concept. We talk about the founder, the team member, and the investor. And the idea is that not everybody is going to be an entrepreneur, and not everybody should be. Many people need to be working in larger companies and making their contribution. But exactly as what happened with SpaceX, some of the stories being told, those large companies create the skills and ability, just like your military training creates in specific areas. Then many of those people leave to go help smaller companies or to start smaller companies or to invest in those companies. And so it's this matrix of trying to address those needs, but the fundamental philosophy is, look, you're a veteran. Whatever your initial motivation, you took the risk to serve this country and protect this system that benefits everybody, benefits the world. Don't think you're not highly qualified to be actively involved in that free enterprise system, and the system needs you. So that's our underlying mantra.
Okay, great. And I'm going to put up, if anybody's interested, it's a free profile. We don't want to call it assessment, but we'll be able to put that QR code up at the end. It doesn't, we'd love to get your feedback on it more than anything. It's really for, the veteran population to show them a street, a value, a journey. So let's do some breakout rooms. Just do me a favor and just say hi to each other, and we'll do it for about 8, 9 minutes, and we'll come back and we'll let me just make sure. These are random. So if you get in with somebody come back next month. You'll meet some more people. Just accept the join the breakout room. Thank you.